Hello and welcome to Tonic Studios. I'm Leo and I'm here today to show you how to put together the treasure trunk gift box. Assemble this gift box today. I'm going to bring in my dies so you can have a look and see where we are working from. Of course, you do have full instructions in your die set as well, so if you need to refer back to them at any point, they are there for you. So here are the dies that we are working with, and I'm going to start by making the base of my box. So you're going to need 4 die cuts for this. You're going to need 2 of your side panels. I have 2 here, which is this main die that we have here. And then you're also going to need 2 side panels, which look like this, which is this die up here, just like that. And the other thing that you're going to need is 2 little strengthening pieces. So I have those cut here in our lovely peer view card, and that die is stuck just in here, like this. So we'll put this part together, and then we'll move on to the lid. I'm going to just move those to one side for a second while we work on this part. You'll notice I have already put on my patterned panels. It is often easier with a box like this if you put these on before you start building the box. But if you can't think that far ahead, it doesn't matter. You can also do it afterwards. So I'm going to grab myself 2 tools. I'm going to grab my precision creaser, and I also have a metal ruler here, which we're going to need in a second. So with this box, it has kind of a slightly different top to it. So with your score lines, we can do the side ones and the base first of all. That's not too difficult. They are as normal. So just fold along your score lines. Give them a good burnish. Because you're making a square box, you want those nice crisp edges. So then we're going to get to this whole section up here, and you can see we've got a lot of different score lines in here. So for the first one, you're going to want to fold it back. And again, I'm going to give that a burnish. And then for the next one, you're going to want to fold it down. Now you do have to be very careful here because we've got this slit in the middle. Your cardstock is going to naturally want to bend at the edge of that. And you're going to have to be a little bit careful and kind of pinch from underneath to get it to actually fold on the score line. And because of that, I'm going to give that a thoroughly good burnish as well. So that basically makes the top of our box. So the next score line, she's looking at the box trying to remember which way it goes, you're going to want to fold backwards again. So same deal, because you've still got that slit in there, you're going to want to pinch from underneath just along that score line. And again, I'm going to burnish this like so. And then the last couple we want to fold forwards. So we have a double score line, which you're probably just going to be able to see on here. And this is where the ruler is going to come in handy. I'm going to first fold along the top one. So this time I'm folding it towards me. She says, looking at the box. Yeah, that is right. I was saying to Cam before we started filming, I only did this yesterday, I should remember, and yet, no. Right, now, for the next one, because it's such a tiny little gap between here, you might find trying to burnish in that score line is a little bit tricky. So if you put a metal ruler or something like that along the score line, you can then actually fold your cardstock against it to kind of encourage it to fold actually on the score line and not just crease in the middle. Basically what this is giving you, if I bring this in here, you can see this shape that we have on the side, and we've got this very definite little slit in here that your lid actually fits into. So this is what your lid slides in and out of. So it needs to be a very definite little opening so that your lid has room to slide in and out, like so. So this is how our lid is going to sit, like this. So hopefully you can see that, and I'm going to repeat that on the other one. So again, making sure all of these are nicely folded and burnished all the way around. And then exactly the same across the top. So carefully pinching that score line around that little slit piece, and the same underneath. You're just gently encouraging it to fold before you go in and really press it, just to make sure. And then this one comes this way. Every time I have to look, every single time. And I'll grab my ruler again and fold the last one. What you'll tend to find if you don't do something like this, so using some kind of straight edge to fold up against, instead of having two distinct score lines, you'll just have one big fold basically, or kind of joined together, which is not quite what we're after for this box specifically. Okay, so I'm happy that is all done. The side then, you've only got the base that you need to fold, like so, on both of those. And then before we start gluing all of these pieces together, I have these two reinforcers, and these actually go behind where this slit is. And it just helps to, because this is part of the mechanism on the top, you've got this little slit in here that is where your lock goes into. It's just to kind of reinforce that and make it a little bit stronger. So we're just going to pop some glue onto the back, down both sides. And then you can stick that straight over there. Just make sure it lines up nicely all the way around the opening. We're going to do exactly the same on the other one. Make sure I'm not catching too much so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, and there we go. That's the second one of those into place. So we're actually going to build this in two halves. So we're going to take one side panel and one end panel for each and put those together first of all. So you have this little score line here as well we're going to fold. So this is going to make the side which we are going to glue our side onto, like so. Yeah, good. Just checking with Toby's instructions now. So glue along there, glue along there. And we're going to press that along the edge. So I found it easier to glue the side panel, so that side glue tab that you have along here, all the way on. And then this top one I'm going to fold in afterwards. And you want to make sure that that lines up with the top line. Just press and hold that into place for a moment. And once you've got that one on, then we're going to tuck in the other two. So you've got two more little teeny tiny glue tabs here. Pop some glue onto those. And we're going to tuck those in underneath. Which is really difficult to show you on camera, so hopefully you can just about see what I'm doing. Sort of. Need to make sure, like I said, that we are really lining up with that side piece. Now, if you find it easier to glue these two together first before you put the side on, you can definitely do it that way. Toby mentions as well in his instructions that you can use the reverse tweezers, the ones that you let go and they stay squeezed, to actually pinch this little piece into place, and that is definitely an option for this. Unfortunately I don't have any down here, so the other way of doing it is just taking your creaser or something along those lines and just pressing on the edge. In fact, I think what I'll do is if I glue the other side, you can probably see a little bit better how this all goes together. Okay, and pop that to one side to finish drying. Let me show you on this side how this is going to work. So you've got these 3 tabs, and basically we are forming that edge all together like so. So putting them all together. So if I glue all of these, you can see how these fold all up. You want to make sure that you're using this line here and the line at the bottom to get nice and flush, nice crisp edges you want on this. Like I say, because you have that kind of mechanism and this is allowing the lid to slide in and out, you don't want it to catch anywhere. And this is where your reverse tweezers or your squeezers are going to come in handy. You can just literally put them onto here, or if you've got a little peg, that would also work. Or alternatively, just using a paper creaser, you can just hold it in from inside until that glues. So you've got that nice crisp edge. And while I've got it here, let's do the other side as well. So that one goes under there, that one goes under there. We just make sure that we get those all nicely lined up. This is where you do definitely need to be kind to your glue. Give it time to grab. Fingers crossed. There we go, that looks good. I'll do the other edge. Last 2 tabs going in. Bit of glue on both of those. And then roll that into the side. Like that. And that's probably the most complicated part of this box, trying to make sure that you get this top edge nice and crisp. I'm trying to find the right angle to hold it from. I'm all wrong-handed here. Okay, so I have my one side in, so I'm going to want to put this side on here. So make sure, make sure you don't end up with the same side on the opposite panels, because otherwise you won't be able to glue it together and then you'll be stuck. So yeah, that one goes like that. Okay. I may have done that. That may have happened. Easily done when I think you're gluing 2 opposite sides together. Okay, so side onto that long glue tab, and then we're going to pull that whole block. If I fold this part down, you can see this then lines up perfectly, and you've got that nice clean little opening for the lid to slide into. Okay, so now that we have our 2 halves, they're going to fit together like so. In Toby's instructions, he says to put the lid on first. I've actually found it easier to put the base on first. So for your base, you're going to need 2 of these rectangles, which are just this rectangle up here. And for the lid part, you're going to need 2 of those same rectangles again, so the outer one, and this time you're going to cut this rectangle, which is the one around the pattern. You're going to cut it out of the center. And these are going to form sort of top reinforcing edges for your lid. So like I said, I'm going to start with my base, and I'm going to glue my base into one side and one end panel. because this is, when you take out the centre of a piece of card like this, it makes it much more flimsy. So if you were to try and put this piece in here, you've not really got the structure to hold it in place. Whereas because this is a full piece of card, we've not cut anything out of the centre of it, it's nice and strong, so it's going to hold the pieces in the right shape for you. Obviously this does depend on the cardstock you're making this from. So I'm using our classic cardstock, so a 216 GSM. With the top piece, with all of the folds and the very small fiddly little fine folds that you have in there, I probably wouldn't recommend anything too thick. I definitely would not recommend trying to do that out of a 300 GSM. I don't think you would get that little double score line to fold at all. So a lighter weight cardstock is definitely going to be your friend for that. But certainly if you wanted to make the this side end panel, or even these panels out of something slightly heavier, you could definitely do that. So my base is now in, and it's holding these two at a nice right angle for me, so I can then go in with my little strengthening panel and glue this into place. So you're going to glue this. If I turn this, how am I going to get you to see this? It's always fun with camera angles. It's easy for me to see, but it's not so easy for me to show you. This is going to glue under this long panel along the side of here, and then it's going to glue under this piece here as well. And then we're going to put the other side on, and then we're going to hide all of these glue tabs with another one of these over the top. So I would say it's probably easier to glue it to this long panel first, because it is exactly the same width and length as that piece. So I'm going to pop some glue all the way along there, put this into place, and again this might be one that you do a bit more by feel than by eye. So you want to make sure that the edge of the opening lines up with this glue tab, and again that you are lined up to the edge here as well. Press that into place, make sure it is nicely adhered all the way along, and then you can put some glue on this glue tab on your end piece. Not too much, definitely less is more here. And then we're going to pull this up, and you should find again that your glue tab exactly meets the edge of that opening. And you're going to want to press that into place all the way along, making sure that it's nice and square, and that's going to form then the opening at the top of the box for you. And then we're going to repeat this basically on the other side. So we're now going to put the base into here and then glue the opening onto all of this. She says, like it's just that easy. So glue onto these two glue tabs for the base. And then you can get your base in. Make sure it's nicely lined up. Press it right into the corner. Make sure that glue tab is attached all the way across. If you need to, you can always go in with your paper creaser. It's a little bit easier for you to get that in. Right into the corners, and then we can just put some glue along our side glue tab and across the bit at the top as well. Pop that into place. So you want to make sure that your sides meet nicely here and on the top, so again you can see hopefully you've got this nice clean opening on here for your lid to slide into. Press that into place. You can always go in from the inside and press along that glue tab as well. Be a little bit kinder to your glue than I am. Take your time with this. I think for this box especially, making sure that you've got nice crisp clean corners here is probably one of the most important parts of this. And I can see this keeps moving, so I'm just going to have to hold this for a moment. As we always say, be kind. Be kind to your glue. Okay, same again then on the other side, glue on the glue tab and on that top piece, and then tuck it in, press it into place and give it a moment. You want to go in from the inside and just press all the way along that glue tab that you can. And then the last thing to do is just to finish gluing our other tab onto that top rim without hopefully disturbing the bit you've just glued, she says. Okay, let's get some glue onto here. So I'm just going to put some glue along that inner rim. You might find the precision nozzle helpful here to get into the corners if you need to. I'm going to put some along here as well. Fold down my glue tab on the side. And then I'm just going to hold this in place all the way along. And again, I'm going to have to be kind and hold this for a moment. Give that a good press all the way along. So there you can see it's all nicely in place, just like so. The last thing to do then is to glue the second one of these, and we're literally going to slide it across the top and press it into place. Is the easiest way that I've found to do this. So plenty of glue all the way around the edges. This is going to sandwich in all of those glue tabs, make sure nothing moves. And then we're just going to pass this through. I'm going to try from this side, might be a bit easier. There we go. And it goes all the way along. You need to be a little bit careful, try not to get any glue on the edge of the box here. Then we can just press it in. And you might find again, this is where your metal ruler is going to come in handy, because you can then press into the side and hold it in place. And same on the other side. Very handy craft tool, a ruler, who'd have thought it. Okay, there is the top of our box done. I'm going to put that to one side, give my glue a chance to dry nicely. And we're going to move on to the lid. So this is the mechanism part where we have our lovely twisty handle and then that nice sliding panel. So I'm definitely going to do a little bit of a Blue Peter moment on this one. I'm going to show you how it's put together, but then I'm going to show you one that I've already built for a very specific reason. So if we start with the slidey panel, I have 3 of the same piece here. So this time we're using this rounded edged rectangle die. So you're going to want to cut 3 of those. For one of them, you're going to want to cut this circle, this small circle, into the center. So once you've cut the outer, put this back over your die cut and use it to help line up where this needs to go. And then you can take that part away, run it back through to put your circle in. And then for the other one, you're going to want to, again, cut this rectangle into the center. This one is going to be hidden, so if it's not entirely perfectly lined up, it's not a problem. So long as it is in the center, you'll be fine. Okay. So this kind of forms the mechanics of our lid. So this piece is going to be the top of the slidey panel. So this bit that we see here. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm also going to take then the fallout. So this part is important, the fallout that you cut from here. I'm going to put that back into the center. You're also going to need a larger circle. So on the die set, That is this one up here in the pattern. You're actually going to need quite a few of those. And again, this is going to depend on how thick your cardstock is, what weight of cardstock you're using. The average is roughly 15 of these, but you may need more or less depending on the thickness of your card and how tightly you squeeze them together as you are gluing them. So cut a few of those. It's probably better to have a couple spare just in case. So this part is going to glue onto here first of all. So the little rim section is going to go around the outside, and this is what allows your mechanism to freely twist. It's very clever. Again, it's a Toby box in case you hadn't already guessed that. Anything with a mechanism like this, you know Toby's mind has come up with this for you. So glue that into place. I've then got my fallout circle. I'm going to put this back over the top. I'm going to put glue just on the little fallout circle that's in there, and then holding that in place, I'm going to put this down so it is central as much as possible. You're not going to see it, so again, if it's a bit wonky, it's not a problem, but you just want to make sure that it is not touching either of these side pieces. Basically, this little rim around the edge is to hold this panel away far enough so that this circle can freely move in the center, like so. I'm going to then flip this back over. I'm going to take another one of my many circles that I have cut. I'm going to glue one to the top. So again, make sure your glue is only, very definitely only on that circle in the center, that little piece of fallout. You don't want any around the edge at all. And this time you actually have the kind of deboss line from the metal, from the die, that you can align this to, because you do want this to be in the center. Once you've got it in place, just hold and make sure that it does turn, that it's not caught anywhere, there's no glue catching. And then we can hide our clever mechanism with our last panel, and you only want to glue around the edge, so just on this rim around the edge. Like so. Now what I would suggest is that you do make this part in advance, and while the glue is wet, so at this stage I would put this under something heavy, some books, your cutting plates and your cutting machine, something along those lines, because you want this to dry nice and flat, which is why, here's one I prepared earlier. You can see, hopefully, this one is slightly wavy, this one not. So here is my nice, thick, ready to go one. This will turn. I can't do it at the moment because I don't have anything to grip underneath because it's hidden. That is my turning mechanism slidey lid. Okay, next part then is this bit there, the handle block and the actual lock mechanism. So for the lock mechanism part, you're going to need 3 of this shape, which is this part down here. You're going to need 2 of your handle pieces, which is here, and you're going to need 1 of these hexagons, which looks like this. It's hexagon within a circle, basically. So again, I'm going to glue all 3 of these together. Just stack them up and glue them. This is obviously quite a functional part of the box, which is why we're gluing 3 together. Helps to make it a little bit more sturdy. You want it to firmly hold your gift box closed. You don't want it to accidentally fall open. And in exactly the same way as I did with this piece, while it is wet, you can see it's quite warped from the glue. So I would again recommend you put it under something nice and heavy. I don't know what it is, when you dry something that has wet glue in between it, under something heavy, it feels like it becomes stiffer. It does some kind of magic. I'm not sure what it is, but hopefully you can hear that's nice and tough. So I'm going to switch that one out as well for my, here's one I prepared earlier, and then I'm going to make the handle. So pretty much like any handle we've put on any of these kind of mechanism based boxes. We have a top hexagon. This one you only need 2 of, sometimes you need 3 of them. Depends on normally how much room we have on the die set, honestly. So I'm just going to fold all of my little glue tabs like so. I'm going to put glue onto this hexagon at the top and then rotate that one and put it over the top. Now it should line up perfectly, and if you fold these edges down you should find that it's not catching on the one below. That's how you know you've got it perfectly lined up. And then we're just going to put glue on each of these tabs and pull them together. Again, you're going to take more time than I am, and you're going to be kind to your glue and allow it to actually dry between each of these. We do need some more discussion topics for while the glue dries. Okay, and the next one. So just going around forming this handle. And again, you should be able to feel along the edges to make sure they're nicely lined up. If you find this tricky, you can always use, I find using a ball tool to get into here to hold the glue tabs in place is quite handy. Anything small like that you can sort of press against. The last one then you're going to have to put glue onto both tabs, fold them in and then press them individually. Okay, so once you have your handle like this, we're going to take our little hexagon piece, pop that over the top. It does help if you line it up with the actual flat planes of the hexagon underneath. And then we're going to put glue onto each of these little tabs around the edge. And then taking the opposite pairs, just fold them at their score line and pinch them into place. Okay, and the next pair. And you can make sure, by looking at this side, make sure that you've got it right up on that score line. And then the next pair. Just give them all a good pinch, make sure they're nicely pressed down. Now I find it easier personally to add one of my circles underneath just to this separately to kind of finish it off. I find then when I'm gluing this onto the top of my handle, I've got more surface area to hold it in place. Again, go around the edge, make sure it's all nicely pressed in. If you want to, you can press it on the top, take your paper creaser, just give it a firm press. Okay, so there is our handle, we've got our sliding mechanism, and we have the actual lock. It's time to bring back in the box. I'm going to slide this into place. And then if I put this lock piece into place in here and then turn it over, you can see we have quite a gap between the two, which is where our lovely stack of circles comes into play. Now, having rebuilt this recently, I sort of did this in a slightly different way. On here again, you'll notice that you do have a debossed line where the edge of the circle is. So I found it easier, and you kind of do want this to be nice and central so that when it's rotating on the top of the box. It's not kind of to one side or to the other. So if you add a couple of your circles to this part, using that deboss line as a guide, and this is where you're going to watch me stack 15 of these together. I will speed this up, I promise. Okay.
It's not Blue Pea at the moment.
No, I don't have a blue Peter for this, unfortunately. Okay. So get a couple onto that part because I find it easier to line up. Obviously we're going to need more of these, but I find it easier to line those two up together than to try and get that central on here. That's how I did it. If you find an easier way, go for it. So now it's just a question of stacking these up until they meet, basically. So I'd put a few on, put it all into place and see what kind of a gap you've got, and then keep adding more as necessary. Okay, so once you have a good stack of your little circles on there, so you pop the lid back into place, put your lock in, and take a look. I think I'm pretty much there. I think I can probably, maybe 2 more, and I should be good. So let's put 2 more on this side. It's very important when you're doing this to get these as straight as you possibly can. You want your stack to be a nice column. Definitely don't want a Pisa at this point, ideally anyway. Okay, last one going on this side. Press them nicely into place. Okay, let's join the two together. And this is definitely a be kind to your glue moment. You do not want to try and twist this before your glue has dried. Believe me. Sorry, I was really catching that there, wasn't I?
I was about to say.
So the reason I say to add some to the base of this is I find it easier to line up the 2 sets of circles than to try and get this central. Okay, and I'm just going to hold this. I am not going to move it. I'm not going to be tempted to try and turn it and make sure that it works. I'm going to have faith that it does. Give it a good press. Okay, last part then. I'm going to put the handle onto the top. And again, I'm going to use that deboss line in the top. Try and make sure your handle is lined up one way or another, so you can either put the 2 flat sides to the side or the 2 flat sides this way, but I would recommend that you do line it up one way or the other, whichever way you prefer. While that is drying, I've got a couple more decorative pieces to go on, and since Karen went to the effort of cutting these, I should really use them. She was especially proud that she managed to get a single flower into the little hexagon to go on top of there. And I have 2 panels to go around on the slidey lid as well. So 1 in that side. And 1 in that side. Okay, moment of truth time. Has this dried enough? Let's see. So your lid slides over the top of the box like so. I'm not going to touch the handle, I'm just going to rotate this bit. There we go. And there is your treasure trunk gift box with its clever little sliding mechanism on the top, all ready to go. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has helped you to assemble your own treasure trunk. Please do tag us in your makes. We'd love to see how you put this together and what are you going to gift in it. Do let us know. Thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you again very soon. Happy crafting!